morning and welcome to Business Angle on DRTV, where we'll update you with happenings in the business world as we look at prices, products, services, and the economy, and also bring you conversations around it. I'm Mercy Amarsawore. On the business news, the Nigerian stock market opened the new week on a positive note. The stock market rose by 0.20% and investors gained about 53 billion naira at the close of the trading session on Monday, December 19th, as equity traders in 3,262 deals exchanged 72,748.829 shares valued at 1.325 billion naira. Nigerian Exchange Limited All Share Index and its market capitalization increased from 49,316.29 points and 26.861 trillion naira to 49,414.96 points and 26.914 trillion naira. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, yesterday threatened to withdraw foreign exchange dealership license of banks that partner with international money transfer operators to violate its directive that beneficiaries of the SPAR remittances should be paid in currency of their choice. In a bid to boost the SPAR remittance, especially through the banking system, the CBN in November 2020 circulated law to banks had directed that beneficiaries of such remittances should be paid in dollars through the designated banks of their choice. The federal government revenue from value-added tax, VAT, and company income tax (CIT) rose by 25% year-on-year to 3.47 trillion naira in the first 9 months of the year, from 2.77 billion naira in the corresponding period of last year. The report of the National Bureau of Statistics (NBA) released yesterday showed that CIT grew by 26% to 1.67 trillion naira, while VAT rose by 25% to 1.8 trillion naira during the period. And that's it on business news. Welcome to our interview segment where we'll be reviewing the economy for the year 2022. The tentative post-pandemic recovery was derailed in 2022 as the global economy was confronted by the Russian-Ukraine war, which has escalated into a costly humanitarian crisis. Nigeria's situation is even more complicated with the recent flood affecting communities and destroying farmlands. Nigeria's economy grew 2.2% year-on-year in the third quarter amid a drop in the country's oil production. GDP growth slowed from 3.54% in the second quarter. The reduction in growth is attributable to the base effect of the recession and the challenging economic conditions that have impeded productive activities. Our analyst this morning is Odomo Ife, SA, Chartered Accountant. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. We want to finish the year strong with the presence of the Lord.
Amen. Okay, how would you describe the economy for the year 2022?
The economy for the year has been a mixed reaction. We cannot shout to guru, neither can we say we performed too bad.
Okay.
But the fact that you and I are still around this earth to do one or two things means that everything were not totally bad. But it was not the expectations of Nigerians when the year started.
Okay.
We started on a very good note and we're thinking that we are going to go along that line until we get to the end of the year. But things took a different dimension with various actors. That is an act of God that is beyond the human comprehension and control. But well, we're here and here we are. The inflation has eaten too deep into the root of Nigerian economy. I would not say only Nigeria, but we are discussing Nigeria. That's why I use the word Nigeria. Everything is astronomically high these days, and we cannot say that we are on top of it.
Okay, so what are those challenges we actually face this year?
You know, it all started from the time of this COVID crisis, that so many variables were put on the table. People started moving away from production to consumption, and Nigeria became stagnant at that position of consumption. We were not producing. Everybody was afraid of the second door neighbor, and by so doing, most of the economic activities were brought to a halt. And when you bring economic activities to a halt, definitely it is the consumers that suffer, because the production will not be there, but definitely you cannot stop consumption. As we were trying to get out of that COVID issue that lasted almost a year, we now started hearing of the brouhaha between Russia and Ukraine, which is still ongoing. But last week, the Russian President Vladimir Putin said the war may be longer than expected, so which means we are not even having an end to end in sight. You know, and most of this gas supply from Ukraine to most African nations and other European nations have been disturbed by the war because of the excessive bombing of the facilities. And when all these things start happening, it affects the global economy. And when it affects the global economy, it snowballs to other countries, of which Nigeria is very hard hit, in the sense that we depend on everything we do from on import. We don't have anything to say, will you let us export this to stabilize our economy? Nigerian economy has been dollarized. You know, we discussed that matter from a few, either last month or let's say 2 months now. The Nigerian economy has been dollarized, and when you dollarize your economy, that means you are killing your local currency in favor of the foreign currency. In that case, it's the piper that the player of the piper dictates the tune now. It is what they want us to do that we must do. Now we are trying to wriggle out of the war by trying to look for other nations as our trading partners. Then when the flood came in, and when flood came in, he never had anybody in mind. He attacked everybody that comes his way. Many people abandoned their farmland. Many people abandoned their homes. Even some of them, as they were running away from their homes are also being looted by heartless people. By the time they came back to their homelands after the recession of the flood, most of the farmlands have been completely destroyed. And now, when you destroy the food base, what happens to the masses? The masses must feed, of course. And by the time you want to look for food at any means, your wife and your children and your dependent relatives are all there. What happens to the economy? The goods will be too few. Then you need more naira to purchase it, because many people will be on the queue, and the higher you pay, the product you get. Otherwise, the hunger remains the pain of the economy. I cannot say we have not done too badly, considering the factors we had on ground. These three major factors for this recent period. That is the COVID, the Ukraine war, which is still ongoing, and the flood that just ravaged the country. But again, too, don't forget, we have a lectionary period. We are moving into graduate.
Yes, we'll actually get there. Now, currently, 133 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. How can the figures be reduced?
When you say they are, in fact, we'll have used another. They are astronomically poor. I think that figure they put forward, or that percentage of the calculation, may not be realistic.
Okay.
We have too many Nigerians, even I can even say 80% of Nigerians are now poor. But because this is a government as a public issue, you will not want to actually come up with the exact figures so that it will not create panic in the country. Nigerians are poor. Remember, there was a time, Alhaji Alhaji, that was the time of Shagari, if I could remember, when he said Nigerians are not poor, Nigerians are not hungry, because they've not started seeing people picking food from this, that is the scavengers. But what do we see these days? We see people rolling trucks to the waste bin to start picking what has been destroyed, what has been wasted back into the society for further production of consumable items. And that is what is leading to all these teaching sicknesses we have, incurable diseases everywhere and there. Can you imagine throwing a can away? Even some people, when they finish drinking their bottled mineral, also some of them spit into it, they do several things into it, and they still throw it away. Somebody will now go there and pack them back to the industry. They say they have refurbished them, they put more drinks into it. I have drank a Coke one day. When I opened it, I put it in my mouth. The bubbles that came out, I said, this thing is very sweet. I put it again. I put it down. The bubble continued. I said, no, this is not normal. When the bottle was already half. When I now looked under, a rusted cap of the bottle was inside.
Oh.
Can you imagine the destruction that it will cause to the health of so many people? Now, you are telling us only 1 out of 3 million people are poor. Election is coming. People are hurting. Let's leave that until we get to that one. The figure is higher than that one. Tell me in Nigeria today, what part of the economy is functioning? The industries are gone, no employment, no new ones are coming in. We have a capital flight. We have most of our companies that are employers of labor relocating to other countries. You will read them every day. We are not supposed to be mentioning the names of those people here. And we continue to pursue what are not pursuable. We instead of us to invest, open up the economy for new investment to come in, we rather use the theology to start solving technology. It will never ever work. When you leave what is supposed to be done and you concentrate on theology, you can only pray, yes, God will save you, fine. God works for everybody. But that one does not open up an industry. You cannot pray from morning till night, 7 days a week, 365 days in a year, and you expect a company to grow from this environment. It's not possible. You have to work until the government comes out with a policy on these issues. There is a difference between theology and technology. They have to define those two for the populace. And the issue of taxes, give some tax incentives, give tax holidays to new companies coming in, to agricultural sectors. Let me encourage people to go into agricultural sectors, beef up the economical base. By the time you do that, then these people, that is the people that say they are poor, most of them will start feeding themselves. If you're able to feed yourself even 2 times a day, you cannot say you are doing too badly, because we have some people these days, they don't even feed once a day. We go out every day, we see what is happening. I was going along the road one day, one young pretty lady came to me and said, Agapeg, I never eat. I looked at this lady, I thought that she was one of those people who normally play pranks. After I moved a bit, I turned back, she was looking at me. I believe what the man will be telling her at that time, so this person not fit help me. I came back, not eating it. She said, no. What do you want to eat? Safe na rice, self. I gave her money. I walked a bit forward, and I was watching her to see what she would do. She actually walked to a woman by the roadside selling rice. I saw her buying rice from the roadside. That is how bad it has become. The only sector of the economy that is working but which is illegal is this Yahoo Boys. If you remove Yahoo Boys investment from the country for the past 5 years, Nigeria has not done anything. We have not done anything. The only, if you see where they are building houses, building clubhouses, building eatery, building all these things, they're all done by Yahoo Boys. And these boys are doing it because they've been pushed to the wall. You can imagine somebody who finished a university education, which is the peak of education, of course. They will now go to some companies to look for jobs. They will tell them, we are going to start you with 15,000 naira a month. What do you do with that? Look at the prices of petrol. This 15,000 cannot put well in your car for 1 week. That is just an aspect of the economy. So until government start to come out with a policy that will eradicate, you cannot totally eradicate it. No government can satisfy its people 100%. Okay. But by the time you do something and you put some issues on ground, people will start building on that. Look at if you run a business now. When last did you have a power supply here from the government in this establishment? How long? How much do you use to buy your diesel on a monthly basis? There is a company in Nugeli that this is December. In the month of October, they spent 5.2 million naira to buy diesel. Tell me what is the profit coming in from there. Tell me the salary they will be able to pay to those people. And if they say, okay, we cannot continue with the high cost of our variable expenses, we want to do away with some staff. What happens to those staff? They've been pushed into the labor market. Have you not increased the number of the unemployed? Have you not increased the number of the poor people?
Okay. Now, next year, 2023 is election year. Do you actually see that affecting the economic growth?
Definitely the VAT will, because the government is not coming down on the issue of VAT at all. They're not coming down. They said they still want to raise the VAT. We are in a situation. Look, there are 3 things to revive economy: the friends, the foe, and the family. They call it the 3F. The friends, the foe, and the family. You cannot tax yourself out of poverty. It's not just possible. What the government could do, forget some aspects of these taxes. Let the people tell you what they want to do. Let them be on ground and do that. Then after they can now start coming and telling you, okay, this is what we can afford. Not even what we can afford. Give them the assessment. Some of even this is even talking of a best of judgment assessment, BOJ. So by the time you take all these things into consideration, the VAT will be friendly to the people. Don't forget, if you are not friendly, that is where people start cutting corners. And by the time you start cutting corners, it affects the receiver. And the receiver this time is the government. The government should at least give these people, considering the harsh economy under which we operate, to survive.
Okay. Now, looking at the various policies by government, especially the ones from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the monetary policy, the redesigning of the naira, and the limits on cash withdrawals, do you actually see those policies helping to grow the economy?
That policy, as far as I'm concerned, it will not grow the economy.
Okay.
Let's start from the redesigning. The redesigning is because of this electionary period where they want to actually stop massive corruption in the election.
Okay.
They want to see that vote buyings are reduced. They want to see that voting by inducement is also highly reduced. But you cannot use a sledgehammer to kill a mosquito perching on your scrotum. Otherwise, you'll be in the hospital. When you say you cannot withdraw more than 100,000 naira limit to a family of how many in a week? Is it not 20,000 naira per day, they say? For 100,000 maximum in a week? How do you spend that money that will be able to go around? Don't also forget the main issue of saying that it will checkmate the electionary fraud. Tell me, if you are going for a campaign, you are going with, let me just say 50 people, what is the logistic cost of those 50 people? Can it be 100,000? The federal government should devise other means of checkmating these things, not by that withdrawal limit. Nigerians, human beings, let me not just centralize in Nigeria, we human beings, we have very sharp brains in beating the law. We are always ahead of the law. So that one is not an issue. Then the naira designing, actually, what do? They have only changed the colors. Everything remains the same. They've changed the colors. Remember when this thing happened in the first time when this sitting president, when he was the military head of state? That was when we had the last naira change.
Okay.
Yes, that was when we had the last naira change. Did it actually change anything? Is the corruption after that or not worse than before then? We have economists in this country that will sit down, look at what is on ground, look at where we are going. Because they define a leader. When you say who is a leader, many people will just tell you a leader is the man who manages, who does this, who does that. Yes, but the practical meaning of who is a leader is the man who knows where he's going, who knows how to get there, and who knows how to carry people along. That's a perfect definition of a leader. The redesigning, the 20,000 naira withdrawal limit, and you asked of another one, Justin, and there were three you mentioned.
Okay, and the monetary policy.
The monetary policy. These three put together, they are part of economic policies that are supposed to grow a nation. But do we have those people who will be able to monitor and implement them? That is the most important thing. It's one thing for you to make a policy, it's another thing for you to implement. Now, people dig money from their houses these days. Some of them are rusted, some of them are being thrown away. You know these people that are doing this thing. How do you think they will stop if there is no law holding them or accountable for their actions? Have you heard of anybody that arrested for such issues? And you think such things will stop future occurrences? It will not. Unless, of course, you enforce the Nigerian legal system that whoever that is guilty is guilty. Whoever that is punishable by the law is punishable by the law. Whoever that pay the penalty should be seen to pay the penalty, not just paying the penalty. Let this person to be seen that he has paid the penalty, the full wrath of the penalty, so that it will deter others. Otherwise, no matter the policy you put on ground, the system will still rubbish it.
Okay, so what intervention strategy do you think government should employ in enhancing economic growth?
Look, build up your assets. As of today, anything that makes Nigeria to sell our refineries, then we have no single asset anymore. I learned that the president in his magnanimity just paid back about $496 million to the buyers of Ajakuta steel rolling mills so that it becomes Nigeria's property. Now, some people are campaigning that when they become president or so, they are going to sell the refineries. If you do that, what happens to the economy of the country? That's supposed to be the mainstay. Why can't we turn around this document, this refinery, so that we become productive? You want to continue to import fuel when we have the tools to produce it. We have the oil, we have the refineries. Only that the refineries are moribund. If something is moribund, it can be revived. Next year, Nigeria is spending about 6 trillion naira to to subsidize fuel that we have. Then they are also planning another 11 trillion borrowing to finance the budget. What are all this? How much does it cost to build a refinery? Do you know that? Do you know that to build a 615 barrel oil a day costs about $15 billion. 650 costs about $16 billion, and 600 costs about $13 billion. And we are consuming 1.2 million a day, which means if you add those two barrels, it is equivalent to what we consume. And we are using 6 trillion naira to subsidize. If you convert that billion into naira, it's up to 6 trillion. Why don't you use that money you are using to subsidize the fuel to repair the refineries? Even build a new one.
Okay.
Now, if you build those two now and they are bringing products into this country, don't you think that it will somehow reduce our dependence on importation, and it will beef up and shore up our local currency?
Okay. What do you see for the coming year?
Unless, of course, look, if you do something, the same thing, at the same time, forever, the result will never change. It's just going to be A over A equals to B over B equals C over C. Mathematics we learned in those days in school. But since I left school, I've not seen where those things are applicable. We have to change from our ways. We have to devalue ourselves. We have devalued everything we have in the economy. We've devalued naira, we've devalued fuel, we've devalued vehicle, we've devalued houses, we've devalued everything. If the electricity we use, we've devalued it. What happens to our moral selves? We have not been able to devalue our moral selves. Let me borrow a word from the American former president. Do not think of what you gain from America, or think what of America will gain from you. When you have a job, if you are given a position in government, go there, don't look at it as it's your money milking avenue. Look at it as, what will I be remembered for when I leave this place? What is the legacy I'm going to leave behind? Now, the only way to correct those things is this coming election. People can just look at it and say, well, it's just an election like before. This is not an election like the ones we've been having. This is an election that if we miss it forever. If we get it forever. Let the government stand on their feet and leave a legacy that tomorrow when somebody will see it, they will say, if not for this man. For your information, there is one thing people have not understood in this country. We have not had a national hero in Nigeria. All we've been having are sectional heroes. We have not had a national hero that stood that if not one Nigeria, no way. That is why we have this person is not from my area, you cannot rule over me. This one is not from my area, you cannot be president where I am. That's why we're having all these things. For the coming year, unless of course we do something drastically away from what we've been doing, it will continue to remain worst. Your fuel, because that is the regulating point of the economy. Fuel is about 300 in so many filling stations now. And we want a different economy in 2023 when we don't have refineries. I'm even planning to sell the ones we have. Belgium that does not have oil is having refineries refueling fuel for Nigeria. What is the how do we interpret that? The best brain in Africa, 60% of them are in Nigeria here. Still, we cannot go forward. When we go out of the shores of Nigeria, we become stars overseas. And when we come back here, the economy and the system kills everybody.
Okay, thank you so much, Odomo Ife, SA, Chartered Accountant. Thank you so much for your insightful contribution this morning.
God bless you, and I wish you Merry Christmas in advance.
Okay, Merry Christmas too. Okay, this is wrapping up Business Angle for today. Urging you to join us same time next week for another edition. I'm Mercy Amasawari, and Merry Christmas from all of us at Delta Broadcasting Service, Warri.